Okay. All right, I'm going to call to order a regular meeting of the Wellington Board of Selectmen. It is Monday, December 5th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. The first item of business is Pledge of Allegiance. If you will join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, the next item is approval of minutes. We have minutes from our November 21st meeting. I will move to approve the minutes of November 21, 2022 as presented.
I second that.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in aye, motion carries. All right, present. There are folks in the room and folks online. And so I'm going to start. If you would like to speak, I ask that you identify yourself for the record and limit yourself to 2 minutes. You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. You can raise your virtual hand. Is there anyone present to speak? Anyone online present to speak?
Donna Cook, 77 Common Road.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize for being quick. I've got another meeting to get to. Couple things. One, I would appreciate it if maybe town meetings could be scheduled quarterly and then canceled if they're not needed. It seems to be that there's quite a few town meetings and it becomes a real challenge to be informed and to get there. And many times town meetings are also at the same time as other town meetings and it just other meetings for other boards. And so it makes it difficult for people who serve to also participate. The second thing is, I believe that once a vote is done, it should be done until the next budget season or something changes in what's being voted on. It seems like things keep coming up again and again within the same budget year. And I don't think that's fair to the people that took the time and showed up to begin with to vote, however they voted. It should be a one and done. The next thing is our electrical grid needs to be evaluated. It's shaky at best. That was quite evidenced by the people that wanted to put in the warehouse that had supplementary things that they were going to put in because they knew our electric grid wasn't good. So without knowing, without having Eversource or whoever is supposed to do those evaluations do them, I think that we're not necessarily properly prepared for what's going to happen next. And in the same line as the electrical grid, they're anticipating electric fees are going to go up significantly in January. I know individuals have been encouraged to lock in rates. I hope that our town and all the related organizations, whether it's the Board of Ed or the fire department or the library, have also made efforts to lock in rates so that they don't get hammered come January. And last but not least, it is really important that the town does whatever it can to protect our community when it comes to something that I believe is going to be either discussed later or voted on tomorrow with, I'm going to call them ancillary buildings, but it sounds like there's a possible situation where people could put up additional homes on their property, and they don't necessarily have to even be a fixed structure. They could be anything that passes the code, an occupancy code. And so we could end up having people that have, whether it's large or small acreage, having a whole bunch of additional homes on their property, and that'll have a negative impact to the town on multiple levels. So I'm not sure how that's being worded, so I don't know whether to say I think it should or shouldn't happen, because I just want to make sure that people are aware of the situation and we do what we can to prevent ancillary buildings from being put on existing building lots that already have a domicile. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? Again, you can raise your virtual hands or come on camera and give us a real wave. Anyone present to speak? Wait, I'm going to move to the room. Is there anyone in the room present to speak? Anyone? I'm staring at them because they're actually people in the room, so I'm excited, but they don't want to talk to us. So you'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Or I know that there are at least, at least one individual who's got an agenda item here, so we'll hear from you later. Okay. We will move forward to correspondence. I'm just making a mental note for the meeting.
I think it was
The next
it was
item.
a similar topic that was brought up about meetings and overscheduling.
A correspondence?
Oh, that's another correspondence
Yeah.
that just only arrived today. So that
Yes.
would be in my packet.
Yeah, well, you won't typically find email correspondence. I will, in my selectmen's report, I'll address some of the meeting concerns. Anything regarding correspondence?
No,
That very lengthy list. We don't get as many things as the mail as we used to now that especially so many state employees are working from home. Most things come in an email, which can be a little frustrating. So we have the burden of cost to print those for some of our paper files because we're not completely paperless here. So. All right, Selectmen's report. I'll start with addressing the town meetings, and I'm not sure if Ms. Cook was speaking about town meetings or meetings of town boards and commissions. But either way, we work, I can tell you out of the Selectmen's office, we work really hard to try to avoid conflict with other meetings. Sometimes it's just not possible. And I know tonight is one of those times where there are two meetings, our regular scheduled meeting, a special meeting, and then Parks and Rec is having an event in preparation for this weekend's annual tree lighting. And sometimes it's a matter of timing. A lot of times the meetings of the boards and commissions, and we have some that have as many as 9 people on them. It's important when the board has work to do that while I encourage them to try to not have conflict with other large town events or other board meetings, but when that board can get together and have a quorum to do the business that they need to do, they schedule their meeting. So I have repeatedly encouraged boards to look at the full calendar. If they have any questions on who's meeting when, reach out to either Kelsey or Robin in the town clerk's office, who keeps a list of regular meetings. It's an ongoing discussion, and there are many people don't want to meet on a Friday night, so you will often see Friday, Saturday, or Sunday town meetings. So that leaves 4 nights a week. We have many boards and commissions, some that meet multiple times a month, and it does become challenging. It is like a giant game of Tetris trying to fit in a town meeting or a special meeting, and then we consider the events that are happening so that we can make sure we hit as many folks in town that can be present. But I don't mean anything other than factual when I say the meetings are in public, but the work is of the board or commission. And so while public participation is, we certainly encourage it, the board needs to be able to conduct that work. So when the board can meet, and I think that's the case with the board event tonight, they were finally able to schedule all their individuals into a meeting tonight. And that's why it happens to be similar time to ours. So
I think the only thing we could do is remind people that we have
That's
a
it.
town calendar. Please use it as best you can.
That's right, and they
try
do.
not to step on other
Well,
meetings.
I don't think they're stepping on other meetings, Jim. I think we need to understand that when we have business that we have to conduct, if it's outside of our regular scheduled meeting, we have to make sure that the 3 selectmen can be there, that we can have a
Yeah.
quorum. And
Yeah.
sometimes the only time we could get people together in a month's time is the time where there's another town meeting. It's not preferable, but it happens. And so it doesn't take the main stakeholders out and the public out, but they still have access to the meetings. And I always hope that it doesn't happen, but I once again encourage folks to, and we'll communicate that to other boards and commissions. So that's our take on that. And if you could see how difficult it is to schedule a town meeting around all the other meetings that we know about, because special meetings we don't always know about until the last minute, and that's why they're special. All right, so I have nothing new to report on the steep grant. We're still waiting for our town engineer to complete some items so we can, and the RFP is one of them. And so I'll keep you updated on that. The school building committee has not met since our last meeting. The next meeting is this Wednesday, the 7th at 6:30. I will tell you that there will be multiple community engagement events. And we'll attach the schedule of that to these minutes, Kelsey, so you won't have to type them individually. Each event has, and I'll call it a target audience. Anyone in the public is welcome to any of these events, but there are various days and various times of day so that we can hit as many individuals as possible. So, you know, for instance, there's one tomorrow at the center school from 4 to 5. There's one on this Thursday, the 8th from 6 to 7 at the library. Saturday, December 17th from 11 a.m. to noon at the library. Wednesday, the 21st of December at 1 o'clock at the senior center. January 5th here at 5:30 and January 11th at center school at 6:30. So we will publish those dates so that hopefully residents can attend. And I believe they will all be in person. I think they're all at least in person. I don't know that any of those will be virtual as well, but if they are, we will publish that. And so we'll make sure we put that on the town website, either social media. So we'll keep you posted. But we meet this Wednesday, so I don't have any new information since our last update.
And I know we don't usually put the SBC stuff on our website, but do we have like an email address or something that, in case residents go see this?
No, if they go to the town website and under Board of Commission, they look up the school building committee, they will find some basic information or links to where documents and times and dates are held.
Including an email to contact the committee.
Including the email.
I have questions.
Yep, nope, right there, there's the committee members, the email, and then links to all the information from the town website. Many of the documents are housed on the school's website, but if you click on those documents, it takes you right to where they are.
Okay.
Yep,
Good.
so there's a way to contact the SBC directly. And at any time, if someone doesn't use that link and they're just not sure who to call, they can call the selectman's office, they can call the town clerk, they can reach out to the superintendent's office. We'll make sure they get the information that they need. And we have people call regularly, look for things who just haven't gone to the email. Some people prefer to make a phone call. All right. LOTSIP, again, we're still waiting for the review of the document at CROG so that we can move forward. As if you recall, we were in the survey and design phase. And hopefully when that's complete, we'll be able to go out to bid on that project. Still no information. I didn't ask Troy today, but he's here. I don't believe we know anything more about our truck that's due in December. Troy, have you heard from them this week?
No, I have not heard from them.
When it comes, Troy, I'd be happy not to hear me ask, is our truck coming today? ARPA, the meeting today was canceled, so I have no new updates for you all. The next ARPA meeting will be Monday, December 19th at 1:30. And I think we're still aiming for a January, beginning of January public hearing. Town staff updates. I am pleased to announce that we have filled the senior center coordinator position with Nancy King. Nan is currently the human services assistant. And that's a very limited hours position. And so she will start a week from today as a senior center coordinator. She will be in the senior center for its all of its public hours from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. To assist there. And at that time, Jenny in our human services department is actually going to move back to the town hall. So her office will be in here now that there will be somebody at the senior center. So we're excited about that change. That will leave an opening for the senior center the human services assistant. So we put that out already. No, I think that one's going out so that we can begin to fill the assistant position in human services. So we look forward to that, and we are still seeking a candidate for assistant revenue collector. If anyone is interested in that position, please reach out to the selectman's office. All right, and in my update, Jim, I will just remind you that we have a joint meeting with PCC tomorrow. And I think that discussion will touch on what Ms. Cook brought up in dwelling units and the action that's required to be taken by the PCC as well as the Board of Selectmen by January 1. So we'll hear about that tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night at 7:30. It is hybrid. All right, Public Works. Troy is here with us. Troy, you still there? There we go.
Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So we've been trimming some trees for like sightline issues. The bus company had a couple issues on some roads, so we've been doing that. We've been blowing leaves off the roads now that they're pretty much all have fallen. We've moved boxes at the town office building for a few offices. We've mowed the retention ponds around town, installed a couple new street signs around town. We installed an under drain on Moose Meadow again, right before they paved it. We had a little water, once they reclaimed it, we had a little water coming out. So we added 140 feet of under drain. The crew has been working over there all last week and this week. They put the binder course down today, and tomorrow, if the weather permits, they'll put the top course on top. So then it will be hopefully 100% paved, and then they'll come back and do the aprons and the curb. So that will happen hopefully this week, as long as the weather permits. We've picked up multiple deer around town that have been hit by vehicles. We picked up a few trees that came down over the weekend with the wind, and we had our annual hearing test for the Public Works and the town hall staff. And that's basically it.
Can't wait to hear how well I'm hearing. What was that? I'm encouraged by the Moose Meadow Road repairs finally being done. I know I certainly have been very concerned as we get farther into the cold, and Troy and I daily talk about the road temperature and whether or not we'll have any issue from this. And he feels comfortable with the temperatures of the road. We haven't had freezing there yet, so we should be good to go. But it already in its dirt phase, it certainly already, you can see the improvements to that area. So it's, thank you, it's a long time coming. So
In the dirt phase, it was pretty smooth.
it was pretty
I
smooth.
rode it this past weekend. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. on dirt.
Yeah, and we were worried with the kind of rain we were getting and what
I
that was
was
gonna
worried
look
about
like.
that too.
So,
That's why
oh
I took a
yeah,
ride. It wasn't that badly washed out. It's actually-
these are the
It
things
must have
that,
crowned it pretty well, so.
yeah, these are the things that wake me up in the middle of the night, and I know Troy's constantly on them, and he assures us that we're good. And I also know that he gets up and goes out to check them when those rains are happening a lot. So we were really worried that that was gonna set us back even farther. So we're in good shape. So and apparently there we have more deer than we have hunters. So it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. So I encourage people just to be cautious as they're driving, because certainly I've seen a lot of them in the roads. So at nighttime. Any other public works comments or questions?
No,
All
I'm good.
right. And move on. Old business complaint procedures. So you recall we were talking about what we could do in the event we had a complaint or concern, and we had, I shared with you several ordinances or chapters from town charters regarding ethics committee. Have you had an opportunity to look at them? Are you
I
ready,
started.
prepared to discuss?
I started going through, but there's a lot.
There is a lot. So I guess the first thing, Jim, and this is one of those things where it's been talked about before. It came up before, and so in some of my research, we are not the first board to bring this topic up. And in previous years, the board didn't feel like it was something that we needed. I might disagree. And I think we should give it some thorough evaluation. We can do some more looking, and I know we have a seat to fill. And so maybe as we get through that process, we'll have another voice at the table. And so where we start, in my opinion, is, do we feel like this is something we want to pursue in potentially drafting an ethics ordinance to bring to townspeople?
I mean, I have an opinion and all that. I'm basically for it. I think it's a very reasonable thing to do. Everywhere you work today, there's this very extensive ethics training and how you should handle that. And some towns look like went a step further, not only for employees, but it's for those who serve on boards or appointed to commissions. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
some were very thorough on how they handled it.
And that's how it came to us, right? So we
Yeah.
know we have a resident who had a concern about the discussions and actions of a commission, and where do they take those concerns? And what is the outcome there? And what we've been able to derive is we have no real action we can take. I'm not comfortable in saying your problem is to be mitigated at a ballot box. And that's what, has come to us from some sources. And I say, we can do better than that. That nothing should be stalled out in between election cycles. That's not how we should work. So how complex it looks, I think is up to the board to put forward a draft, and then ultimately townspeople to decide. This isn't something we would decide. If it's an ordinance, it goes to townspeople. We merely would be making recommendations, and they would be part of that process. So maybe, Jim, I'll start with taking some of these. I'll draft up something for Wellington, and then we can work off of that, taking a look at all of the other documents and suggestions, and I'll give us a place to start from for Wellington, and then we'll move forward with taking a look at that and bringing something to townspeople.
Sure, we'll have another selectman soon.
Soon.
Within 30 days or thereabouts, what
Yeah,
the statute.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's a time limit on that, so that's not forever.
No, so I'll draft one up to bring to the board, and then we can make many, what I would assume might be many alterations to it as we go through the process.
Yeah.
So we'll give ourselves a starting place while we continue to read. So we'll look to that. And again, in the meantime, while there is no real action the Board of Selectmen have, that doesn't mean people shouldn't bring it to us, right? We said last time, first, voicing your opinion. Second, I encourage folks to go to the board or commission with a concern they have. And then bring it to us. If there's nothing else we can do, it's something we can bring out in public and
Right.
have a conversation about in public. And I think that's really important. So, but it's, we do not have ultimate authority on many of these items that folks might think that we do. We do, in my opinion, have an obligation to try to find solutions. And so that's what we'll do with drafting a policy. So, all right. So we'll work on that. If not for our December meeting, next December meeting, our January meeting will probably be more likely. New business. We have a couple of appointments. There are currently 3 expiring terms at the Rec Commission. 2 current members would like to be considered for reappointment. And I don't see either of them online, or I'd give them an opportunity to speak. So I will start with making a motion to reappoint Joe Colangelo as a regular member of the Wellington Parks and Recreation Commission, effective December 15th, 2022, expiring December 14th, 2025. Second, any discussion? All right, I will just simply add, I want to thank Joe for his work currently on the commission and his willingness to stay on for another 3-year term. All right, see no further discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I will move to appoint Mike Panati as an alternate member of the Wellington Parks and Recreation Commission, effective. That's supposed to say alternate? No. I move to appoint Mike Panati, reappoint Mike Panati as a member of the Wellington Parks and Recreation Commission, effective December 15th, 2022, expiring December 14th, 2025.
Second.
Discussion. So again, he's a regular member. My apologies. Again, I want to thank Mike. Again, he's been on the commission for some time now and his willingness to serve for another 3-year term. Just making sure neither of them popped on. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we have one zoning board of appeals. So I will move to reappoint Richard Maloney as a regular member of the Wellington Zoning Board of Appeals, effective December 31st, 2022, expiring December 30th, 2025.
Second.
Again, as this is a reappointment, I want to thank Rick for his past service and his willingness to serve. So I know many of these boards take time away from their own personal time, and we appreciate the work they do on behalf of the town. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Town employee holiday party. In the past, we have held a staff party, relatively short, but we have done it on a Friday afternoon, and we've closed the town hall at noon so that all staff could attend. Last year, we had agreed to this. We were gonna hold ours down at the senior center, and then COVID reared its head again. And so with the number of increasing cases, we did not gather together. So I would like to do that this Friday, the 16th. And if the board agrees, the same as we have in the past, we close the town hall to the public at 12 o'clock noon.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. So that's our plan. And our plan this year is to, instead of here or even the senior center we looked at before, we've either done something in this room downstairs at the senior center. We're actually going to take this out to Flat Pennies. So we're going to give some business to Flat Pennies. It's at the old River and Rail Track 9 diner. So here in Wellington. So it's another way we can support a local small business. All right. Next item is our budget calendar. It's budget season is upon us. So you have a draft of a calendar which has, if we need them all, 5 workshop meetings. Some of them are prior to regular Board of Selectmen meetings. Others are Mondays where there is not one. The 17th is a Tuesday, because Monday the 16th is a holiday. Is the 23rd a Tuesday?
No, 23rd is Monday.
Monday, that's the off Monday. I know we have 2 Tuesdays in January. Oh, the 3rd is the first one. So I will make a motion and we can discuss. I will move to approve the budget workshop calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do you see any conflict? Obviously, at this point, there are only 2 of us.
I don't.
So
I don't
hopefully a
have- I don't have any
quorum
conflict.
can make it, and so we will work on that process. The idea is,
And as we have been doing it, we would just hold it before our selectmen's meeting.
some of them are before, so I can tell you the 17th is before one, the 9th and the 23rd, the 30th are all separate Mondays.
Yeah.
So we do have a little bit more time on the 17th and the 6th of February. We are locked into an hour for workshop because then we have a regular meeting at 6:30. So hopefully we can get a good amount of work done on that. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, Chief Snyder. So this is a potential awarding of a vendor for the Wellington Hill Fire Department replacement of their first response vehicle. This is a CIP project for 22-23. So I'll share first. You should have in your packet, Jim, the 3 quotes. Here, I'll let the 3 quotes for the vehicle, and then Chief Snyder, I don't have that in my packet, but I know you had sent us an email. Basically, putting into words exactly what we're pretty aware of is stock is limited.
Yeah.
Folks can't, thank you, Kelsey, can't guarantee we can get anything, but our procurement policy requires us to get 3 quotes. So I know you said some were hesitant to quote you because they can't deliver and the price could change,
Correct.
right? So can you first, the 3 quotes, I see one is from September, relatively soon. It's the MHQ one is from December of 2021. Is this a quote that they're willing to?
Well,
Hold,
yeah, it's what
adhere
they're
to?
willing to honor, but again, they have told me that they cannot get vehicles. So that's what they're sticking with. At this point, that's the price that they gave us, so they're honoring
Okay.
that price at this point. But they can't even order
Okay.
vehicles.
And Columbia
That's all
Ford's
they
the same thing?
Columbia Ford is the same thing. Yeah.
I think for me, that was my only concern. It's pretty irrelevant because you have 3 bids, but is Sullivan's Northwest Hills on a state bid list?
Yes, and all
Okay.
these prices come from the state bid list
Okay.
for these vehicles. And Sullivan's Northwest Hills is off state bid.
You know, times are tough when in Wellington, we're going to Torrington for
Yeah.
something, right? This
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
this is just,
I mean,
um,
Northwest Hills has done quite a bit of business.
Yeah.
And I have to give credit to Tyler Millets for pointing them out. They use them quite a bit through TN and
Okay.
Penn State and stuff. So he pointed me in that direction when I contacted them. They had fortunately had the foresight of ordering several of these police type, fire type vehicles when they had the opportunity to do so quite a ways back. And he is telling me that they have 10 of them coming in. They'll be in February. And they happen to be the lowest price.
so we'd be able to lock into the vehicle. And if memory serves, there are still many other items that would be needed, which is why the CIP budget is more than the $40,000 for the vehicle.
Correct,
I think you were at 79,
75.
75. So we'll be hearing from you on other items
Correct.
then that will be needed to go into the vehicle.
Yep.
Okay. So your recommendation is to go with Sullivan's Northwest
Yes.
Hills. All right. So I'm gonna make a motion and then we can discuss because there's some things to point out here.
Sure.
I will move to award vendor for the Wellington Hill Fire Department replacement of first response vehicle to Sullivan's Northwest Hills in the amount of $40,007.20.
Second for the purpose of discussion.
Second. So the process here is, if we vote on a vendor based on the recommendation of Chief Snyder, then the selectman's office and myself, I can write a letter of intent to purchase to the vendor. And then this will be a leased vehicle. So then we have to work on securing the lease funding. And our, our goal, we've been working with our business manager, both Chief Snyder and Chief Moore. And we've been in discussions individually about all the things we need to do for the financing of this vehicle, the new ambulance, as well as the public works vehicle that we approved. So the next step then would be to secure funding for finance funding. And so there's some items we need to do on that part in public hearings. And so things will come back to the board for choosing the bank to secure leasing from. But the first step is to choose the vendor.
So I'm
For
just
this.
looking in front of me here, this
Mhm.
Sullivan's, it looks like a straight vehicle. This looks like a vehicle, right, an SUV.
Yeah.
And then I assume it comes back, all the customization is, whatever, the tires, the electronics, all that stuff, and the lights, right?
Yeah, the electronics, the radios and the lights have to be put in this vehicle afterwards. It is set up as a special service vehicle with the wiring.
So okay, so it has all that extra alternator.
Yeah, it has all the electronics that are built into the vehicle. So again, we have to add that stuff, the lighting, the cabinetry, the radios, all that.
Yeah.
And so the remainder of the funds through CIP will we'll see Chief Snyder come back to us for those
That
dollars.
comes from a different funding source. We won't be leasing.
We'll be leasing
We
that.
won't be
So
rolling that.
I believe, and I don't have that in front of me, but it comes from Fund 17. So I don't think that has to go to a town meeting. I think that just I think he'll make us aware of the things that they're purchasing and the dollars, but the funding comes out of Fund 17. This comes through us because we are leasing. And so
I think it needs a town meeting for anything
it,
over.
it does
20
not, because the
20,000.
funding comes from the lease, and it comes from Fund 17. So the reason for town meeting, and then I'll let Mr. McCoo speak, the town meeting is determined by the fund source
Okay,
and or the dollar amount. So in this case, we follow the contract we have for fire services with the 2 fire departments and what our language says for purchasing. And so in this case, this is the direction that we would go for Fund 17 funding. So the public works vehicle is being leased, but it comes from a different fund
Okay,
source. So we had to take that to town meeting. This one does not need to go to town meeting. It comes specifically from a fund source of dollars that were set aside specifically to purchase replacement fire apparatus.
and the only thing that's being really done together is the lease.
Correct,
That's,
correct.
Yeah.
And so that requires the Board of Selectmen, an RFP will go out.
Yeah.
Then we have to choose that vendor, and then we take to a public hearing,
Yeah.
not a vote at town meeting, but a public hearing for folks to make public comment about the lease and the vendor we've chosen there. But because of the fund source, in this case, it does not need to go back to a town meeting to appropriate those dollars.
Got it.
Did you have something to add to that?
I was just gonna add that the remainder of the equipment, going back to Fund 17, I believe the way it's written in the rules and the contract between the fire departments and the town is that the approval to tap for these things has to go back to the Board of Finance, basically.
Was it?
That,
And I have to, every time we take a next step, I can tell you, I pull up the contract and we go through the contract to see what step we're on. And so when we get to that one, it is very specific.
I'm pretty
written
sure that's how
language.
we answered it the last time this came up.
I think so. And so when they come back to actually outfit it, and do you think you'll do that prior to, you wait till you get the
Yeah, we have to
vehicle?
wait till we get the vehicles,
Okay.
all the equipment vehicles.
And so the dollars are earmarked in Fund 17, so it's not as though, let's say, heaven forbid, the vehicle get pushed past
Yeah.
the fiscal year, that the dollars will still be earmarked and set aside in Fund 17. So this is just for the vehicle itself, that we will be leasing alongside 2 other vehicles. And so this will be the second of the 3 that we will have at least done step 1 on. Ambulance is the next to come before us.
Did Sullivan's quote a lead time at all?
Their estimated delivery to them is February.
Oh, it's not too bad, actually.
Yeah, but again. the dealer
Relatively speaking.
They already, I think you said to us, they already had them on order,
had-
right?
Yeah,
So
the
that's,
dealer had the foresight to order because. they
In
knew it
COVID
would sell.
time. right, they already had them ordered and weren't spoken for. We ordered back in June our public works truck, and it, who
Right,
knows?
right.
I think vendors have gotten a little bit better about trying to mitigate some of these issues, but you know,
Still, the vehicle's not here till it's here.
that's right.
But this is-
And I hope it's here in
This is what we're
February.
being told.
They can get you a, pickup truck to come along with it, that'd be great. Like,
But also the difference with this is unlike the other dealers is Northwest Chevrolet has build date promises from General Motors. Whereas the other dealers can't get any build date promises, which is why they said they can't tell us anything right now.
I feel we have a build date of December. It moved from June, so, yeah, I mean, but this is very promising. So
That looks good, so that we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it lapsing and then.
I hope not, Jim. Knock on something. We just never know, but I want to applaud you for being able to work, across departments and with all the resources we have to outline a vendor that can, hopefully keep this under budget and delivered in a time that you need. So, Yeah.
Together.
all right, any other discussion? No. All right, seeing none, all those in favor, again, the motion is to award the vendor for specs for Wellington Hill Fire Department replacement of the first response vehicle to Sullivan's Northwest Hills in the amount of $40,007.20. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. No, motion carries unanimous. All right. Thank you. All right, next item. Not surprisingly, we have a vacancy here. So
Let's
we,
talk about it.
we have to talk about it. Our obligation, first by statute, is to fill it. So my goal is hoping that together we can try to fill this on our own. So we have been working with our town attorney and I don't know if Robin's on, she is solo in her office. Our town attorney and the town clerk to answer many questions, and I've had many, so that we make sure we understand the process. So the,
You want to review that process first?
We are going to,
I do-
yep,
I do
yep,
see
I'm just
Robin
looking.
online.
no, so I'm gonna start with our town attorney. His approach to the matter is that we follow the language of the statute. And so there's a vacancy, it's treated like other to fill a vacancy. So in this instance, he would do the same as the other seats. We have the time frame. All right, so if you read the statute, last time we discussed what we believed it to be, the time frame for this. Very good.
I'm good. I'm just calling it up right
Yeah.
at my fingertips.
It is 60 days. So we have, as a board, 30 days to fill it ourselves.
Yeah.
If we don't, then there's 30 more days for a total of 60 days, not an additional 60 days.
Okay.
And so that was a point of clarification. And after the 30 days, if you and I do not come to an agreement on an appointment, then it goes to the town officers, elective town officers.
After 30 days.
After 30 days, it
the
goes to
town
those.
Clerks
It has,
have to act.
not the town
independently.
clerks, the
Yes.
town officers. And so elective town officers of the party of the seat in which was vacated.
Right, but if-
So it has been, can I finish? Can I finish?
Sure.
So it has been determined, and this is coming from our town attorney, and Robin had similar advice from the Secretary of State's office, that those elected town officers include the Board of Selectmen and Register of Voters. And those officers are the elective party of the vacancy. So in this case, Democrat. So the individual after the 30 days who would make the appointment would be, in this case, myself and the Democratic Registrar of Voters. I questioned, because it's elected officials. I questioned it being the town treasurer as well, simply because it has to be the statute. Nothing's written in plain English, folks. So the statute defines the term town officers as used in this section shall not include state representatives or town officers who serve on town boards whose members are not all elected at one town election for the same term. So that would mean, I'll use the Board of Finance, for instance. The Board of Finance, all of their members are not elected at the same election for the same term. We have staggered terms.
Mhm.
So they're out. Board of Ed members, elected members, they're out because they have staggered terms. So that leaves, in my estimation, 3 people. Our town attorney says he does not see the treasurer fitting into that category. But if there's information to let him know, so at bare minimum, it would include myself and our Democratic Registrar of Voters, who would then make an appointment. So not the parties, but elective town officers from the party of the seat that was vacated. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
surprised it really is the treasurer
You're surprised it is?
is not.
I am too, because I see,
It's an elected, that's the CFO of the town.
well, it's not that it's the CFO of the town, but
But
it's
they are
elective
elected- they
in
are
a
elected
term
officer.
where all of its members are elected in the same term. So I'm not sure how it doesn't fit.
No, and not,
But-
the registrar is the one that's not elected in the same term, right?
The registrars are both elected in the same term, all of its members, so there are 2, and they're elected at the same election
But.
for the same term.
Opposite of ours,
It's not the same term as our term.
yeah.
It's the members in their election. Those members have to be elected at the same time.
Okay.
So if the Board of Finance has 6 members, if all 6 of them at every one election were voted on and replaced at
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
then those Democratic officers on that board would be considered. But because they're not all elected at one election for the same term, they are not included. So it takes it from a bigger pool of people to a very small pool of people.
Okay.
But our town attorney does not feel that the treasurer is included in that. I still don't see how, but we have asked for legal opinion and he has provided that. So I see.
Is that not a board?
Neither,
Is that what?
he didn't say that, Robin. Did he indicate to you? I'll ask that we,
I'm sorry, what was the
is
question?
it because the treasurer is not a board?
You know, I don't know. It's,
He says, I don't see the same category because they're on a different cycle. But
right.
the register of voters are in a different cycle. They're in a completely different election. And it doesn't say it has to be the same election as the selectmen. It just says it's
Oh,
members.
Is the treasurer 2 years or 4 years? I mean, I guess like, that doesn't really matter, right? And honestly, Wellington.
I don't think
would
that
have
register of
a
voters is 4
treasurer.
years. So it's not about the term it is. It's
Is it
saying
because
it's
you can't
officers.
figure out that it's a staggered election, whether you have a board of one?
Maybe, maybe. Yeah, so, and he, again, I don't want to determine why the attorney said that, that's just his opinion, unless there's more information. So, it's at least 2.
Okay.
Not 3. So I would say, and then there is, the statute does spell out that the person that is appointed, whether it be by the selectmen or those elective town officers, serves until one of 2 things happens. The remaining term unexpired, which is until next November.
Mhm.
Or unless a petition has been filed, and that petition would need 5% of the last completed registry, and they have 15 days to do so. So we could appoint someone, and then someone could file a petition that would call for a special election.
Right, for a candidate.
Right, so we could appoint someone, they could stay, if no one files a petition, that person stays until November.
Mhm.
So they are appointed until the special election or the end of the term. If no special election is called, until November.
And I see there's statutes regarding elections and timing, and there's a whole schedule for that.
Yes, which Robin has been looking into, but we are trying to stay in the taking the matter at hand that we have. So I don't have an outline for a special election process because that depends on whether or not someone files a petition for such. So, and I don't want to speak for Robin, she's here, but that's where we're sticking to the facts we know now. So right now we have 30 days to make an appointment. So I would like us to be able to work together to find someone to fit this seat that we could agree upon, that we feel is best to serve the folks of Wellington. And that would be my goal, is hoping that as selectmen, we could do that. If not, it goes to those electors. And then whether or not a petition is filed after that remains to be seen. So we have 30 days from December 1st. So our clock started last week.
So when is our deadline?
So
Is it the
30 days,
31st?
is it the 31st? I would say it's either the 31st or, yeah, in this case, we now got holidays in there, so.
And practically speaking, I think that's a Saturday or something like that, right?
It's a Sunday.
Well.
It's, oh yeah, it's a Saturday. The
It's the
first
last-
is on a Sunday. We are
the
closed
last
on the
bit-
Monday.
It's the last business.
So
day,
in my
probably.
mind, if it doesn't happen on Friday, the 30th, then it goes to those special electors, because then we're at January 2nd. Before the town offices are back open again. So we do not have to make a decision tonight. We can begin discussing. And we could hold a special meeting for just this item if we felt need be. We have one more meeting, but we have many items before us. We have many things coming before us. We are beginning budget season. I think it would behoove us to work together to make sure the townspeople are served in the best possible manner. And with that, I will ask you if you have anything to add, to say,
Now,
for point of discussion.
no, this is the correct way is to take a look at the law, because it is convoluted. I had a lot of questions, again, obviously you did as well.
Oh, yes.
And I thank Robin for taking the time to step through that, when she must have done that numerous times with a lot of people, so thank you for taking the time to research that and explain it to everybody, and it still seemed convoluted even after it's all explained, so.
Yep.
I will tell you, our town attorney encourages us to outline a process and consider an ordinance, but that's just his recommendation. I think we all know statutes are vague for a reason, so towns can work things the way they want them to, so.
Work it, that's one thing, or you could
That's
say, we don't have time for that, and we can do an ordinance, but.
Right.
For
Or,
another day.
right, and that was something he shared today. I'll share that with you, but for me, it's let's stick to what we have at hand. We have only the statute to guide us, and go from there, so. Would you like to begin a discussion on potential replacement appointments?
I'm okay with that. Would you like to?
Go ahead. What you got?
Okay, show me mine, and then you'll show me
Listen,
yours.
my end goal is Wellington being served, and us
As
being
well.
able to do the work that you and I were elected to do,
Yep.
and do it in the best interest of the townspeople. We know we're not always going to agree. I actually appreciate
Yeah.
when we don't agree and we can have some discussion. But this is one of those things, I think it's important for us to work together to try to fill this vacancy, to move things forward with the town.
Right, so, I mean, so we start beating the bushes and looking at potential candidates and all that, and everybody's like, I don't know. I don't need that, or let me think about it.
Jim, they see you coming, they run the other way. Did you get some of that?
Yeah, we got a
yeah.
lot of that, so, but we did get somebody who said, yes, yes, I'll do that. And that was the guy, the fourth selectman who got the next amount of votes, Mr. Matt Clark, said he'd be willing to consider serving in that position. He's able to serve in that position. He was put before the voters of Wellington. So everybody is familiar with him at this stage in the game. He does have obviously experience on the Wellington Board of Finance and on the Economic Development Commission. We have a lot of, we got a challenging budget year. It's always challenging, but it's extra challenging right now.
Don't disagree.
I know he's, so he offered to serve.
Okay.
All
All right, so I will share with you, they were beating down the door, just like you, right? Folks are
You had-
eager to come out.
You had
and
like
vote.
loads of people.
Loads of
You had to
folks.
scratch
But-
several off
yeah,
the list.
But for me, Jim, it's important to find someone that I think represents Wellington and can work on behalf of everyone. I know we sit in a time where sometimes locally, many times, certainly the state level, nationally, we tend to be divided. I think in Wellington, we're more together than we are apart, although we
Oh,
appear
yeah.
to be more divided.
Yeah.
So I do have someone, so Mike McCoo, who has, I think we all are aware of the experience he brings to town. He is almost a lifelong resident.
Except for 2 years.
Right, almost. And currently serves in many capacities in town. Also as a member of Wellington Hill Fire Department. I think Mike does a really great job of really seeing things from every angle, keeping us all on alert to make sure we're looking at things from different directions and seeing things. And he is willing to step into this role if we so choose. And he's currently the chair of the Board of Finance. It goes without saying that a member of the Board of Finance could not serve as a member of the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. So he would have to resign from that position if we chose to appoint him to this position. So for anyone who believes there's any conflict there could not be. It cannot happen. You cannot serve on two
Yeah,
boards.
yeah.
So We did discuss that, but it's really, and again, we're talking about an opening until the next municipal election. What I didn't talk to Mr. McCoo about is anything further than that. I am focused on the task at hand, which is filling a vacancy until November. This is not, to me, any sort of gamesmanship. This is about who do we think can help us move in a forward direction, very important.
Absolutely.
And so.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so we have, two folks before us, for us to mull over and consider.
Do you have any other candidates that keep the door down?
I do not
You do not?
currently.
Okay.
No, but that doesn't mean there isn't someone who
We,
wouldn't like to
we
be
continue to
considered.
scour the Wellington and turn over every rock, but
So if you're amenable to that and they're both willing, I would like to give both Matt and Mike an opportunity to talk to us, right? Because the decision currently is before the two of us.
Mhm.
So if
Sounds
you're
good.
open to that, I will start. Mr. Clark, you are online. You have anything you'd willing to share? Did you agree to this or did Jim just put you on the spot? Coming on camera for those of you who are. really
unmuting,
waiting.
getting on camera. There he is.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything to add, no. This is not a campaign speech. It's up to the Jim and the first selectman to choose someone that, as Erica said, will move the town forward and serve the town. Mr. McCoo has lots of years of experience. He's done a very good job on the Board of Finance. I'm not, well, I don't think we need to make campaign speeches. I think I would say that this should go and this should be contemplated rather than the decision being made and voted on tonight. And I think that the Board of Finance would suffer if Mike has to step down from Board of Finance. You'd have to find someone else for that important role. So tough decision for you guys. Good luck with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mike? Again, I'm not asking to Matt's point, I'm not asking for a campaign speech. Is there anything either of you would like to have us here to consider,
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to make a big campaign pitch in a public meeting. I think more about just stating qualifications or interest. And similar to how this conversation started, it was a difficult decision of whether I wanted to put my name in or not, because I have 1 year left on the Board of Finance in my current term. And after unexpectedly becoming chair of the Board of Finance and then having COVID happen, I feel like we got abused pretty heavily over the last 3 years. And the idea of finishing up the last year, maybe with a little less abuse by whatever, fate has in store for us. And maybe even being done with that was a pretty good idea. And then this came up and it seemed like there was sort of a tug for me of which way to go. And should I just stay with Board of Finance? But I feel like there's an important role here. And I think having worked a lot with Jim Bulick and with Erica and not always agreeing with either, I would hope that each of you, as well as the townspeople, would see that I'm not a guaranteed second vote for either of you. And I hope that's what represents the townspeople the best. That whatever my vote is, what my vote is based on what I see coming in front of me. I would draw on the 50 plus, we'll say 50 plus years of Wellington experience. From being a kid with my parents being on a lot of boards and stuff, to just try to make good decisions for the town and help fill in this gap, whether it's to this potential special election or it's to the election at the in November. Obviously, that would be a little easier to deal with than a hop, skip, and a jump in the middle of budget season. But I leave it to the board to see what they think is the right thing to do. And Mr. Clark was generous in his comments, and to pay him back for that, I will say he's put a lot of participation in with the town as well. So I think he gives you something to think about as well as a candidate.
Yeah, Thank you both. Just the fact that you were willing to say yes, to consider this. It's not an easy decision, and it's often one that folks take, looking a little bit more long-term. To Mike's point, Jim, some of why I reached out to Mike, and this was Erica reaching out to Mike, was because of the way he looks at things, the way he comes at things, and that we don't always agree. I think we all have something to learn from each other, and we can always gain a different perspective. And I'm not looking for another vote on this board. I'm looking for someone who's going to take every item we have in front of us, help us work through it, analyze it, and determine what's the best. Sometimes there are simple things like agreeing on a budget calendar, and other times they're very difficult decisions. Whether or not we develop a new ordinance and pass that along to the voters and what that looks like. And or creating a committee that may be slightly controversial to folks in town. And so it's important to me that we have someone sit here who is in tune to what the folks in Wellington want. And for me, I think not to discount Matt, he certainly has participated, and I appreciated him putting himself out there for the position in the first place. But Mike brings that clear work, right? So he has a kind of a resume of doing that in Wellington. And if you've been to a Board of Finance meeting and you hear him on some of the hot topics, you don't know how the vote's gonna go at the end. They never know where he's gonna sit, but he sure makes sure that all of the questions have been answered before they've gotten to a vote. And I think that's really important and a needed voice. So we don't have to decide on this today. We need to have a conversation. We need to do it in public. So I have had folks reach out to me and ask me about the process. I outlined it here in the beginning, and what you didn't ever hear me say is that any of this would happen in anything other than a public session. Executive session happens for very specific things in very few specific instances. This is not one of them. So you will not hear us ask to go into an executive session to discuss with anyone. Even if you want to talk to our town attorney about this, this does not fit any one role in that manner. So that will not happen. We will be having any discussion we choose to have in an open session. And I think that's important for people to hear. So whatever we're going to say, you're going to hear from us. And it's up to you and I. So after you've heard them, anything
I
you'd
think
like to add?
that's well put. I think Mike leaving the Board of Finance at the beginning of a budget season would be extremely challenging for the Board of Finance. That's probably one of the reasons why my mind didn't gravitate to that. It's disruptive enough to have a selectman leave, let alone also somebody on the Board of Finance, particularly at the start of budget season. You're probably crafting your letter right now that we always kick off with. What is the outlook? What is
New
the
budget calendar went out today.
The budget calendar, well, ours did too. So, that would be extremely disruptive to, and that's why my mind didn't go there. My mind said, okay, well, who did the Wellington people choose in the last election, and or who put themselves out there before, and that's I kind of went to Matt that way. And he does have that experience on the Board of Finance. No, he wasn't chair there, but I think the Economic Development Commission wouldn't be paralyzed or mobilized if Matt had to resign from that because he was a selectman. So you're right, we don't have to make that decision today.
No, I will say Mike's time on the Board of Finance has been valuable. But with that said, he would be missed. But make no mistake, there are some well-seasoned veterans on that Board of Finance, and I have no doubt if Mike were to fill this role, that they would still be able to move forward. They obviously would have to replace someone, but with the exception of one regular member, the rest of them have been very active in town, have been on this board for some time or sometime in the past. We have a former first selectman that sits on that board. I think they all really understand the process and without a doubt, the very difficult budget season that's going to be before all of us. So Mike would be missed, which is, why it was not easy for me to ask him, and you heard him say, not easy for him to consider. But I don't feel for a second that the Board of Finance would be paralyzed without him. I think that's a little bit of an overstatement. They have a lot of experience and knowledge before them. So a loss for sure, but if Mike were to sit on this side of this table, I have no doubt he'd have some sort of presence as we begin discussing our budget and being part of the public portion of that process. And making sure, at least here, that we're asking all the questions that we need to before we put forward a budget to the Board of Finance. So we can do one of three things. We can take some time and schedule a special meeting between now and our next meeting, or now and our next meeting, to have this as a sole item. We can take action tonight, or we could again discuss this at our next regular meeting, which is December 19th. If we choose to wait until December 19th, I will just remind us that then we have limited time for a special meeting after that, because we can't discount the fact there are holidays in there and everyone's availability. And I don't know what it is, but we can make available for a meeting. This is important work, at least from my perspective. And then if we cannot come to an agreement, then we would expire our 30 days. So I guess we have four choices. Take no action within the 30 days and then move this forward to the elected town officers, of which there are currently two. So your preference?
I think we heard from two candidates tonight and prefer not to take action tonight. Both had items to discuss. I didn't know Mike was also a candidate. But
I
we can
didn't know Matt.
and you didn't know Matt was. So we can both reflect on what we
Okay.
learned today, and we can follow up again at another point in time.
Okay. I would ask if you have anything specific that you'd like, that you would need going into another meeting, reach out to Kelsey and let her know so that we can make sure that we have all of the everything we need at a meeting that you might need to move forward. Do you feel at this point in the process that you need anything else from either Robin, in process wise?
No, I think I'm pretty good
Okay.
process wise.
Okay. And would your preference be to try to hold a meeting between now and the 19th?
I think we can have a vote on the 19th.
You want to wait until the 19th? Okay. All right, so we will move this to our next meeting on the 19th and put it on the agenda. And my hope is that we can, as a board, have some meaningful discussion. And that may mean additional questions we have for either Matt or Mike in order to help us make those decisions. So, all right, seeing no action, any other questions about the process?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Robin is still looking into a couple of things, but it doesn't change where we stand in the process. And if we need to look beyond that, we will. So with that, I will move forward. That leaves the next item on our agenda, present to speak. So if there's anyone, Mr. Chulis put his hand up, and I'm going to make him wait because I'm going to start in the room this time. Anyone in the room that is present to speak? Don't all throw your hands up at the same time. Going once, going twice. All right, Mr. Chulis.
Oh, good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Can.
Nice and loud.
Oh, good. Okay. Some other tidbits for consideration. with the replacing the missing select person here. Mike also sits on the school building committee. If Mike were appointed to the fill the vacancy on the Board of Selectmen, that would put the school building committee with 2 representatives from the Board of Selectmen. I'm not sure that's quite right.
I just clarify for the record, Mike sits as a current representative, a board of finance member. So if he's no longer a member of the Board of Finance, that would change. So
So we would need to replace a member of the SBC.
the Board of Finance would need
New
to
Board of Finance
make
rep.
a referral for the board, to the Board of Selectmen for a Board of Finance member.
Okay, and what about representation from the Board of Selectmen on the school building committee?
That is myself.
Correct. So Mike would no longer be on the SBC.
That's correct.
And quite frankly, I think his input there is quite valuable, and I would hate for the SBC to lose him. Just my sentiments about this. Mike contributes a lot. He's done a lot with getting us to where we are with the SBC, and to not have him there, I think would be very detrimental to the committee. Food for thought.
I will tell you they're, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Tulis? I didn't want to cut you off. All right, is there anyone else online? We've lost a couple of folks here. Anyone else online who would like to speak? Campbell's in the room, so I don't suppose she wants to talk online. All right, going once, going twice. All right, I was gonna say sold. but
Who's at the
there's
top
nothing
left?
to win.
Activity up there.
That's our,
I can't
that is
tell.
us.
Oh.
All right, moving on to good and welfare. As you heard me mention earlier, there is a joint meeting. There's a special Board of Selectmen meeting tomorrow at 7:30 alongside the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we are joining their meeting, but because we are participating, we have to warn a meeting because we will have a quorum. So 7:30, you can join us and the Planning and Zoning Commission tomorrow. The town clerk's office will be closed on Wednesday, this Wednesday, December 7th. We have one staff member out of the office, and Ms. Campbell is finishing up her coursework to become a certified town clerk. So she will be out, so just this Wednesday. Mobile food share will be here Wednesday from 11 to 11:30. A reminder, it's open to not just all Wellington residents, but residents from anywhere in Connecticut. If you can, please support our small businesses and restaurants. We have a November report from Troop C. We had 374 total calls for service. That included in November 14 accidents, 12 criminal investigations, 0 burglaries, 0 larcenies, 236 non-reportable matters, and 5 arrests. For motor vehicle enforcement, there was a total of 109 total traffic stops that included 55 infractions, 19 written warnings, and 34 verbal warnings. I do want to take a minute to welcome Lieutenant Stefan Sampson, who is the new commander at Troop C. I had an opportunity to meet with him and talk about all things Wellington and public safety. Please be assured that the abundance of speeding in town was absolutely discussed, and how he can work with us to help mitigate that. So they are once again valuable partners with us, and he hears our concern and was right on top of it before I could even mention it. So I was happy to discuss that with him. The annual tree lighting is Friday, this coming Friday, the 9th at 7 p.m. The tavern will be open as well. Is that correct, Mr. Shabbat? Yes. So I do hear that Santa will be there. So come see Santa, sing some carols, and head on down to the tavern as well. So it's scheduled for about an hour between 7 and 8 p.m. The select chorus from Hall School is performing as well. You will see tonight there was an event for those who could make it tonight, if not before, where you could adopt a tree and decorate it. And that will go to a family who otherwise might not be able to provide one in their home. And that's being sponsored by our Parks and Rec Department. So that will be part of the decoration for the Old Town Hall. And then they will go home to those families. So if you are still interested in donating a tree, I believe as of this afternoon, Parks and Rec still had some available. So it's $40 for a tree, and then you decorate it however you want. Those decorations and the tree go to a family. So if you're still interested, please contact Parks and Rec.
And I think they have either $40 for a big tree or $40 for two small.
I think so. I just don't know.
Something like
I don't know what he has left over. So it's $40 to participate. So reach out to them. We do have a town meeting next Monday, the 12th at 7 p.m. the Old Town Hall. This is an in-person only meeting for just for reference. If you happen to be in the town office building or somewhere else around town on Friday the 6th, no, this Friday the 9th, and you see myself or other staff in our pajamas, they will be work appropriate pajamas, but we will once again be standing together with kids who are fighting cancer in the annual PJ Day for the Kids. This supports Connecticut Children's Medical Center, and it's a statewide initiative. I am proud. I will be proud to once again participate. So I like to bust out some festive pajamas and do that. So don't think of it as us giving up on things and not professional. It's happening all over the state. And up till maybe about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I think there are only 3 towns out of 169 in Connecticut who haven't signed up to participate. So our schools participate for $1 or more. You too can join us in that cause to stand together with kids fighting cancer. So I look forward to that. And I believe our next meeting on the 19th will be after the beginning of Hanukkah. So I will take an opportunity now to wish a festive celebration to all those who celebrate Hanukkah.
What is Monday night? A town,
Town
what?
meeting,
Town meeting.
town meeting. Mr. Bulick, do you have anything to add?
Yes, there's a nice giving tree downstairs
Yes.
in the back by the Parks and Rec side.
Excuse me, we are still, excuse me, point, excuse me. All right,
We're still trying to finish
yes,
up.
we are still. The giving tree is
There's a nice giving
downstairs.
tree
Yes.
downstairs behind in the back of the town offices. If you're facing the town, the back of the building, it's always to the right.
It's outside the Parks and Rec and Human Services Department. So there are tags on. I know they, I think I saw them add a few extras at the end of Friday. So there might be some new tags, and that's to provide a new unwrapped gift, whether that be a toy or clothing or gift card. And those will go to help those participating with our Human Services Department. So it can help somebody's holiday be a little brighter. And then I will leave you with just adding, there's a lot of illness out there. Kind of a triple whammy between COVID, flu, and RSV. So I wish everyone well. You know, if you're not feeling well, I encourage you that if you're sick to stay home and take care of yourself. So 'tis the season.
Unofficially, I heard 1/3 of the kids at Hall School were out today.
That is, I have heard similar numbers. It was an alarming number and not any one thing. So we've had lots of illness in this building as well. It's a revolving door right now. So if you're feeling ill, take the time to rest and heal. We don't want to see anybody be down for any length of time. But seeing no other business before us, I squint to look at the clock. I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:49.
I'll second.
Seconded, this is a non-debatable matter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, folks.